So I told my parents. So I told my parents. Any guesses on how it went? It did not go. I don't know why I'm filming this. I guess I just want to say it all out loud. Because then maybe it won't be. I know I had to tell them. I know it was the right thing to do. Now, in this moment, because I couldn't go back, I couldn't hide, I just can't do it anymore. It costs too much. It's just not a price I'm willing to pay anymore. Okay, so I decided to turn up to my dad's 70th birthday a day early, because I hoped it would then be easier to find a moment to tell my parents that I'm non-binary. I didn't want to tell the guests, well, my parents, you know, when the guests arrived. I helped get everything ready, you know, set the tables, prepare whatever food we had. My mum and I baked a rhubarb pie. It's my favourite. I made tea for myself and coffee for them, and then we sat down. My dad talked about how much he loved the pie. My mum interjected that the pie was made with the rhubarb from their garden, and they still have a bunch of them in the freezer. My dad couldn't believe there was still more rhubarb. And then everything got quiet for a second. My heartbeat was faster than it had ever been before, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. I knew this was the moment. I had to get the words out before someone said something. I looked at my parents and I took them in. I took mental pictures of the living room where I'd spent every Christmas. I did it because all I could remember was what my mother had said about my gay art teacher. So I took a deep breath. It was time. And I noticed a photo of me in a big dress. That's what you wear to contests when you're doing ballroom dancing. My mum's smile would have blinded the sun. Of course they remembered. They remembered how pretty I looked. how my mum had made the dress herself, how much my partner and I had practiced. You know what's so interesting? We all remember things differently, and I told them so. I told them that what I remembered from that day was how much I did not want to be in that dress. How I disliked my long hair and the hours my mum spent styling it, and how halfway through the hairstyling I felt hot and queasy and the room was spinning and I said I felt sick and maybe I shouldn't go. My parents wouldn't hear of it, and just like that, I fainted. Looking back, I now realise that it was a panic attack, but I didn't know that then. I just knew I didn't want to be in that dress, have crimped hair, or go to that stupid competition, and then I said it. I just blurted it out. It was like an out-of-body experience. I tried to remain calm as I saw their shocked faces. As I saw their shocked faces looking back at me, and I explained to them that being non-binary had nothing to do with my sexuality, that it was a gender thing, that I didn't feel like a woman or a man. My dad just stared at me. My mum sat next to me on the couch. She looked at my dad, and then she began to laugh. A roaring laughter erupted from her body. She almost couldn't get a word out. She told me to stop it, be serious, not to be ridiculous. I said I was serious. My pronouns are they and them, and there the laughter stopped. She shot up from her seat and stared at me with those pitch black eyes. She yelled at me. You don't want kids? You don't want to get married? And now this! How dare you come here when you're like that? Get out! Pack your things and get out! I don't want you in the house. Get out! She said she didn't have a daughter anymore, which is true. Yeah, I know. It's not that funny. I looked at my dad and I wanted him to say something. I called out his name, but he didn't respond. He just sat there. So I packed all my things and I left my dad's birthday gift in the hall. Before I left, I summoned all my courage and walked back into the living room. I looked at my dad and I asked if he wanted me to leave, if he didn't want me there for his birthday, because if he didn't, I'd accept it. My dad didn't say anything. He just sat there in shock. My mum kicked me out. And I haven't spoken to her since. My dad called yesterday. He wanted to apologise. He said that he was just so shocked that he didn't really understand what non-binary was, but that he'd looked it up on the internet and he felt he understood it a little better now. He wondered if I could maybe explain it again sometime. I said sure. I was so happy he had called me, that he had said something. He said that he'd really missed me at his birthday party and that he was really sorry about how things went down. I asked him about my mum. Dad says that Mum just needs some time. But I'm not so sure about that. I heard someone say once that when you come out, you have to give your parents some time to grieve for the person that they thought you were and that you'd become. The thing is, I don't think there's enough time in the world for my mum.